Over the last 4 days, I had cycled from John O'Groats down through Wick, Inverness and Edinburgh to Carlisle. After making my way down the length of Scotland, the next leg of the journey would take me from Carlisle to Bristol, passing the Lake District, the West Midlands and Wales. Setting off from Carlisle on Tuesday the 19th of July, I spent the hottest day on record sheltering indoors at a friend's house in Penrith. By the time I left at 4 o'clock that afternoon, the temperature was still 34 degrees, but cooled down further into the evening. Leaving Penrith on the A6, I climbed over the Shap Pass and down into Kendal, which was a fantastic descent. From Kendal, I slowly made my way towards Lancaster and camped just outside the town. Although I had a good set of lights with me, I wanted to stop riding and put up my tent before it got dark, as it would be much easier to set up my camp this way. Starting late in the day did limit the distance I could cover before dark, but it did give me the opportunity to ride through the sunset and into dusk, which was a truly special experience. The next day began with a gentle ride through countryside lanes between Lancaster and Preston, but after Preston it turned to a day of city riding. I spent hours working my way through Preston, Wigan and Warrington before I was back out in countryside again. In Warrington, a cycle path along the west side of the city was a welcome break from the main roads. It brought me down past some canals and over the Mersey, which marked the end of the majority of my urban cycling for the day. My day finished as it had started, on quiet country lanes, which brought me into Shropshire and through Whitchurch to a campsite just south of the town. I'm going to head down through the rest of Shropshire and into Herefordshire today, and hopefully I'm going to make it to the near to the coast, near the Severn Bridge, and then tomorrow I can get into Bristol fairly early and start making my way through the West Country. Ideally I would have liked to stop with friends in Bristol, but it just doesn't really fit around my day, because from here to Bristol is about 140 miles, which is really too much for a day in the middle of a big tour. And tomorrow I want to do at least a good sort of 30 or 40 miles into the West Country by the end of the day, rather than stopping halfway through my day in the city. After leaving my campsite, my first stop was the village of Wem, where I had breakfast, and from here I continued over rolling hills through farmland, down towards Shrewsbury and the Shropshire Hills. Leaving Shrewsbury and heading south across the Shropshire Hills area of outstanding natural beauty, I was feeling better on the bike than I had thought I would that morning, and this made me reconsider cycling all the way to Bristol. By the time I stopped in Hereford for lunch, I had made up my mind to continue through the Wye Valley to Chepstow, and then cross the Severn Bridge into Bristol.
The only thing I hadn't anticipated with this change of plan was how hilly the last 20 miles would be to take me into Chepstow. By the time I got to the south side of the Severn Bridge, I felt broken by the hills and the long miles I'd covered that day, but it was well worth it for a proper bed and some takeaway dinner that night, setting me up well for the next 3 days into the West Country. Reaching Bristol that night felt like a huge achievement, with the bulk of the journey behind me. But as I would discover the next day, there were plenty more challenges ahead in the West Country.